Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of my viewers from across the world. This is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of JForex Indicators Explained, I will be taking a interesting indicator for explanatory purposes. We will be looking at the Stoller average range channel Stark. We will see how we can take this indicator while making the trading decisions and utilize its various analytical observations to make an informed decision. So let us now head to the JForex 4 platform, which has been developed by the Dukascopy Bank SA. This is the newer version of the earlier platform, so do check it out. It has new additions in terms of the functional aspects, and it is looking much more aesthetic in appearance. So you will find this indicator listed amongst the overlap studies, or else you can simply do a quick search. Let us do a quick search this time around. So we have to just type in Stoller. All right, so here we have Stoller average range channel, start bands. This is a simple indicator derived using the simple moving average. We have the combination of the simple moving average and the average true range to come at this channel using this average moving price, and the volatility is measured by the ATR range, so we get a good idea of the trend as well as the range of that trend. So we can make sense of the strength of the trend, whether it is moving upward, whether it is downward, or it is simply going nowhere and moving sideways. So we have all these aspects under consideration. We have this channel formation which can guide us in making trading decisions. So here it is the chart has been plotted with the candle period being hourly, and the instrument of choice is the Euro USD. On that, I have plotted these start bands with the default setup. So the combination is of SMA, and we are using the ATR period of 15 with the ATR multiplier being 2, and the start band period is of 6. Okay, so this is the default setup. That means this SMA band is derived using last 6 hours of data, and then we are adding this ATR multiplied by 2 to this SMA to arrive at this upper band, and we are deducting the ATR for the given period multiplied by 2 to arrive at this lower band. So we get this formation. The classical interpretation is kind of simple. We try to go for the buy trade when we have the price movement closer to this lower band, and we go for the sell trade when we have the price movement closer to this upper band. So we can take this assessment, and we will do well to remember that sometimes what happens that even after touching this lower band, the trend doesn't really changes and it continues to decline and decline, and similar thing can happen in the uptrend. So if that happens, if we have significant break even after touching and consolidating closer to this upper band, then we should consider it to be a strong trend, and we should avoid the temptation to short again on the higher side. Rather than that, we should allow it to rise and stabilize, and maybe in next turn of event we can think about making a new trade. But if the market is not trending, and simply moving in a narrow range, in those circumstances, the indicator will work quite well. We will have many opportunities where we will get to buy closer to this lower band and sell closer to this higher band. But of course, in the ranging market as well, the breakout can happen on the higher side as well as on the lower side. So that kind of possibility has to be kept in mind, and then the trading decisions should be made. But if it remains in a prolonged consolidation phase, then we will have a lot more opportunities coming our way when we can buy closer to this lower band and sell closer to this higher band. But to not make too much of losses in trending market, we simply have to take one trade, and if it goes wrong, that's the end of the story. We have to let it go, and then we have to look for new trade in emerging scenario after making a fresh assessment of the price dynamics for the underlying instrument. Now let us see what kind of customizations we can make with these editing options provided on the platform to to arrive at combinations which are likely to bring us money rather than losing money. So this is the applied price for given indicators. The typical price is being used as the applied price. Typical price is arrived at by adding the high and the low and the close price of the underlying instrument and then dividing it by 3. So it's kind of simple. We take this close price, open price, high price, low price, median price, typical price, weighted close price. All these are the options provided on the platform. So we can take any of these price, and using that price, we can arrive at the Stoller average range channel. ATR period can also be changed. We can make it shorter, we can lengthen it. So depending on what kind of ATR period is used, we will have these channels defined quite differently. The ATR multiplier is also important. We can reduce these bands or we can increase the width of this band. So you will have different price formations in different kind of scenarios. Then the calculation period for the start band is also available to the editing. If we want to make it more smoother, the average can be increased. So now I'm taking 14 as the calculation period for these start bands for calculation of the start band. So we have a lot more smoothing compared to the earlier price formation, and I have also increased the ATR multiplier to 3 from 2. So we have these price extremes being touched very rarely. It is not happening too often that we have these price moves which are going on to touch these bands both on the higher as well as on the lower side. So that is happening because now the width of the start band is a lot higher, and we are also taking into consideration the ATR. So whenever there is a big jump, the ATR increases, and then we have higher multiple, so it increases exponentially. So we have this lot more movement in the start band's upper and lower arm. The SMA is going to revolve around the price movement. So if the sentiments are bearish, we will have these downward sloping SMA formation, and depending on that we will have these downward sloping upper and the lower band. But when the volatility increases, even if there is not much of a significant change in the course of action of the SMA, we will have significant moves in the upper band and the lower band. As the ATR increases, we get these higher width for these bands, and because of that we are getting a feel that this looking like on certain occasions like Bollinger Band, where contraction and expansion continues to happen depending on the volatility. This kind of slow response indicator compared to the Bollinger Band, but it has a different functionality and different kind of interpretation. But more or less, we have the concept which is kind of similar in both the cases, the Stoller average range channel as well as in the Bollinger Band. Both of these are based on moving averages. We can use different types of moving averages while defining the Bollinger Band. But in case of start band, we simply have to use the simple moving average. So that is a major difference here. Now coming to its editing options, we can change the simple moving average here. So I think I just a while back I said we can't change, but that's not really true. Even I am new to this platform, so I think I have kind of omitted this significant availability, so we can utilize different kind of moving averages here. So we will have lot variability in the plotting of these star bands depending on what kind of moving average we are using. So if we go for the EMA, you will have the price moves which are a lot more responsive compared to the SMA. If we use WMA, the weighted moving average, then we have different plotting. All these moving averages you can try out one by one, and whichever gives you approximation for a good trading setup, that is the setup you should go with. In case of Trima, we have a lot more smoothing in this plotting of the moving average, and accordingly we have this smooth looking moving average. But at the same time, the lower and the upper band is not that smooth, and this is because we have variability in terms of the ATR plotting. So ATR is also having a higher multiple, so whenever there is significant price move, the ATR jumps, and as a result of that we have these sharp movements both on the higher side and the lower side in case of these Stark's upper and lower band. So whenever there is a higher volatility, these bands will move outward whenever the volatility is reducing, these bands will start moving inwards. That's how these setup work. And we can also utilize this moving average middle line as a important support and resistance zone. So whenever we see that after having touched this upper band, if correction happens and it again comes back closer to this middle channel and consolidation happens and it starts to pick up pace again, we can try to take new trades. So that kind of interpretation is also likely to prove useful, and it can be reversed in case of the sell trade. Whenever there is strong trend on the bearish side, we can start looking for shorting opportunities whenever we have consolidation closer to this middle band. All right, now let us see some of the other editing options. We can change these moving averages. So one by one, I will try it out to see what kind of changes we can observe in this plotting of the bands. T3 is also a lot more smoother moving average. HMA has a hull moving average. LWMA, linear weighted moving average. We have SMMA as well in place. So all these kinds of moving averages are there for making a assessment while taking the trading decisions. Now coming to the output options, we can customize these channels as per the requirement. So we get color combinations which we can try out, and whichever color combination catches our fancy is available to be used. So we get all these options, and in addition to that, the custom options are also there. So we have a lot of choice for choosing a color of our liking. 5 minutes. Yeah, we will continue here. Now trend up and trend down. So we have these coloring options available. Okay, so I have opted for this different kind of color combination for the trend up setup, and for the trend down we keep the same setting in place. For lower band, another different version, so we can identify these trend changes quite easily. So we have these two different color combinations in place. All right, so this is now looking quite easy to see whether the bands are in contraction phase or in the expansion phase. The styling combination can also be varied. We can go for different types of weight, and transparency options. Now with this new platform we have transparency options available till 80, 90. So I will place it at 60. Okay, so this is the combination. Let us consider what are the options available on the levels. Levels, we don't really have many options. Then advanced, recalculate on new candle only. If we want the output value of these upper band, lower band and the middle band to remain constant for the given candle period, then we have to opt for this option. So only once it will be calculated whenever new candle formation takes place, and then that value will remain constant for whole of the candle period. If we want the time period under consideration for calculation to be highlighted, then we can take this option and we will have the calculation period being highlighted. So we have this option. So we just a minute, there is one query here. So now coming back to the editing option, calculate from the custom data, we can opt for this. So if we want the calculation to be done for any of the instrument we chose here, just 2 minutes. Yes, 5 minutes. I'm in session. 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Yeah. Now we will continue. So coming to the instrument can be anything from the chart, or we can keep it fixed to the Euro USD. And the calculation period can also be varied, anything from 10 seconds to the 1 month. We have this option provided to us, so we can try out different kinds of candle period for calculation. Let us wait, it will be plotted. We have opted for 15 minutes. So we have now the calculation being done on the 15-minute formation. And if we go for use from the chart, then whenever we change the candle period from say 15 minutes to half an hour or 1 hour, or for that matter 4 hours, on all those different candle periods the plotting will be done. But if we just opt for one chosen candle period, then there will be no plotting when you change the candle period to say another time frame. And coming to the spread side, we can go for two of the option. We can select the ask or the bid side, or you can simply use it from the chart, whichever is there. So that will be your input price while calculating the indicators output values. Now we have the indicator being shown on all the candle periods under consideration. But if I opt out of this, then I have to specify which is the candle period on which the plotting of the indicator should be done, and only on that candle time frame the plotting for the indicator will be done. Okay, so here we have that case that we have only the plotting for 15 minutes, and if I now change it to say 1 hour, there won't be any star bands plotted on this time frame. But if I revert it back to 15 minutes, we have these bands back in place. So that's how this system works. So it makes it easier for you to read and interpret the data on different time frames, and then accordingly you can opt for these various options to make chart reading convenient, to make the data parsing convenient and easier to make sense of. Now I will restore it back. The base period can be anything from none to 1 week. So all these four options are also there. So guys, that's it from my side for today's session of the GeForce Integrator Explained, where I tried to give you a brief overview of the uses and the functionality of these star bands, the Stoller average range channel bands, and I hope you have been able to figure out the possible uses, and if not, you should try it out, and this indicator will help you make your trading profitable. So for further coverage of the market developments, do check out the Dukascopy Analytics page. We are also available on the Facebook. The platform link, the new platform link has also been included in the bio. Do check it out. Thank you all for joining in. I will be back tomorrow with a new indicator, new explanations. Till then, stay tuned. Have a fabulous time. Make a lot of money. See you next time. Goodbye.